Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to our National Organize to Win broadcast. I'm Christy Lara with Our Revolution and I'm here to get this call started. If you're here in the Zoom, let us know your name and where you're from in the chat. Also, you can help us get more folks on this broadcast by sharing out on your own social media like Facebook and Twitter. The links are getting dropped in the chat now. We want to welcome all of you and thank you for choosing to spend your time here with us tonight. If your membership is lapsed or you're looking to become a new member, now is the time to sign up to be a movement builder. We have so many great items and all the perks. For $5 a month, members get to vote on our 2022 candidate endorsements, help craft our policy platform and strategy, and receive our official membership card. Again, my name's Christy Lara. I'm joining you here, and I can see so many people joining us here in the chat. Justine, I see, let's see, Annette Johnson joining us, Anna Martha, good to see you, Deb Robinson from Vermont, Dick Haas joining us from Illinois, David Peterson says welcome. We want to thank everyone all across the United States for joining us. You guys can get to know each other in the chat, learn where each other are at, and help organize in your areas. Again, my name's Christy. We have so many great items available. If you are not an Our Revolution member, now is the time to become one. Again, for $5 a month, you get a membership card, a 2022 membership card. $10 you'll receive a sticker pack, and for $15 you'll receive Our Revolution poster. At $27 you'll get a tote bag, and at $50 you'll get an Our Revolution shirt. So please, if you are not a member yet, we would love for you to become a dues-paying supporting member of the work that we do at Our Revolution. As the call is building, I just want to welcome everyone to the National Organize to Win broadcast. Again, my name is Christy. If you're able to, join us here in the Zoom. You can go to ourrev.us/Zoom. That's ourrev.us/Zoom. The link is being dropped in the chat. You can also share those on the social media streams. And we want to thank everyone. I can see in the chat here, Karen joining us from the Philly Burbs. She says, thank you for being here tonight. It's kind of bouncing around. Evanston, I see Evanston, Illinois, Steve joining us. Netchicket joining us from Florida. So from all over the U.S., Judy Alba from Mount Rainier, Maryland, good to see you. Rita from Collins in D.C., good to see you here. Let's see, Pat joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. So lots of people joining us here in the chat. Thanks again for spending your Monday evening with us. We have an exciting call tonight, and we're hoping that you can help us build the call. As we begin, please share on your streams ourrev.us/Zoom 2022, and that will get you right here. ourrev.us/Zoom will get you right here into the room. We want to welcome everyone. In just a bit, we'll be talking to Amazon labor union organizer Justine Medina on their historic grassroots win at the JFK 8 in Staten Island, and we'll dig into campaign strategy with progressive candidates challenging the Democratic establishment. U.S. Representative Andy Levin is running against a conservative New Democrat in Michigan's new 11th district. David Segal is taking on corporate power with his bid for Congress in Rhode Island's 2nd district. And Annette Johnson is going up against the machine in her re-election bid for local office in Indiana. The 2022 primaries are well underway, and right now is the time to get progressives on the ticket and kick out those corporate Democrats who work against us once they're in office. We struck an early blow with our primary wins in Texas, but we got to keep the same energy. We got to keep going in Ohio and Michigan, New York, and all across the country. We need to put our folks in power who will partner with us for the movement and help us make change. We're going to take a few minutes just to let this call build. You can help by calling, if you want to help us get in those efforts and your area, you can help us by calling voters in targeted districts all across the country to help tip the power in your area. Take just a few minutes now while the call is building to sign up for our 2022 phone bank force. We have an amazing phone bank force, people organizing all across the country to help get progressives in office and win these primaries. We're dropping that link in the chat. Please feel free to join that. You can also visit our website, ourrev.us, and just hit the events section to find what the phone bank force is doing all across the nation. Again, we're coming down to the 8:30 mark. We'd love to hear from you all in the chat. Tell us where you're at, who you're organizing from. I see so many people out here. Jermaine from Detroit, Michigan. So many people across. Karen Hollis, good to see you here. Lots of people. Timothy Cotrin joining us from Our Revolution, Orange County. Good to see you. Sandra Esparza joining us from UWUA. John Nelson joining us from Redondo Beach, California. So as you can see, there are people all across the nation joining us. We're just getting ready to get this call started. Please make sure you stay tuned and look out for the Our Revolution report, our weekly newsletter that's emailed to you directly in your inbox every Saturday. It's packed with all of this information that you need to know, all the information you're going to hear, and how you can get plugged into the revolution right now. With that, let me bring you into with our host for the evening, Our Revolution Executive Director, Joseph Varghese. Joseph, off to you.
Thank you, Christy Laura, a dedicated organizer with Our Revolution, who's going to be co-hosting with me tonight. Good evening and welcome, everyone, to our National Organize to Win live broadcast. My name is Joseph Varghese. I'm the Executive Director of Our Revolution. Our Monday night calls are when we gather together as a progressive community to strategize, to organize, and to mobilize, to transform the world as it is into the world as it should be. Tonight we have an amazing lineup of change makers. We're going to be joined by Amazon worker Justine Medina to talk about the historic union organizing win in New York. We're also going to be talking about campaign strategy with progressive champions who are vying to defeat the Democratic establishment. U.S. Representative Andy Levin is with us tonight. He's running against a conservative New Democrat, quote unquote, in Michigan's newly drawn 11th district. David Segal is in the House. He's going to be taking on corporate Democrats with a new bid to represent Rhode Island in Congress. And last but not least, Annette Johnson is in the House. She's going to be talking about her race against the machine for re-election to local office in Indiana. But before we bring up our amazing lineup, I want to update all of you, our members, on how we are carrying out our 4-point plan to create a more progressive America. As the country's largest grassroots progressive political action organization, our members are on the front lines every week fighting on all fronts. We're defending democracy against right-wing radicals and corporate domination. We're working to elect progressive champions up and down the ballot. We're fighting for progressive policies at every level of government, and we're fighting to transform the Democratic Party into a party that puts people and the planet first. So let's start with an update on our work to defend democracy. This week, as the New York Times reported, our revolution and our partners at Free Speech for the People expanded our campaign to ban insurrectionists from the ballot. Our revolution members in Arizona filed lawsuits against U.S. Representatives Paul Gosar and Andy Biggs, as well as State Representative Mark Fincham. All three violated the oath of office. They violated our Constitution by aiding Capitol rioters on January 6th. Look, Fincham actually joined the mob as a rioter and breached the Capitol grounds, while at the same time Gosar took to social media and posted an image of rioters scaling the Capitol walls, and he put the caption, "Americans are upset." Well, yes, Americans are upset. We're upset at the radical Republican right wing for shredding the United States Constitution. That's why we're also going up against Marjorie Taylor Greene and Madison Cawthorn, but we need every progressive patriot to take a stand and help fund our work. There is a link that's in the chat. You can support our work to defend our democracy. Christy, back to you for updates from the policy front.
You're muted, Christy.
Thanks so much for all that reporting on what members are doing across the country. This week, Our Revolution New Jersey organized 21 groups to ratchet up the pressure on U.S. Representative Andy Kim in New Jersey 3 to co-sponsor Medicare for All. Our push comes as the Biden administration moves to privatize Medicare and as 15 million Americans are set to lose their insurance as pandemic protections expire. The good news is that Bernie and Pramila will be introducing Medicare for All next month. Also this week, Bernie and Cori Bush introduced a bill to use the Defense Production Act to spur domestic clean energy and our dependence on fossil fuels and petrostates like Russia. People are tired of watching gas prices soar and waiting for green jobs. Suffering from climate catastrophe, and big oil is definitely feeling that pressure. That's why their executives lashed out this week at U.S. Representative Ro Khanna and the windfall profits tax that would check their war profiteering. Also this week, Joseph, Our Revolution and Nina Turner marched on the Capitol Hill to demand that President Biden make the student debt pause permanent. Our Revolution New Jersey leader, Gabriel Ambrose, was interviewed on CNBC this week, calling on Biden to sign an executive order to cancel all student debt. A pause isn't enough, y'all. Also, Our Revolution salutes New Mexico for making college tuition free for every state resident. Very exciting news there. Joseph, over to you on more exciting election news.
Thanks, Christy. This week, Nina Turner joined Our Revolution Ohio State organizing call on Wednesday to talk about her rematch against Shontel Brown for Ohio's 11th district. The primary was scheduled to be on May 3rd, but it's looking like it's going to be postponed until the fall because of extreme gerrymandering by the GOP. While this creates chaos, because how can you have an election when you don't have maps, our members are going to be using the extra time to do what we do best. We're going to be hitting the phones, knocking on doors, and mobilizing voters to get to the polls. And meanwhile, as we're organizing alongside Nina, Shontel Brown is claiming credit for bringing home the bacon. She claims she brought $7 million in investment to Northeast Ohio, except Shontel Brown didn't request these funds. It was Senator Sherrod Brown. Wrong Brown. As Nina said, the truth is Shontel Brown secured $0 for the people of this district. That's why we're supporting Nina Turner. We need somebody who's going to speak truth to power and speak truth to power consistently. Also on the election front, and this is exciting, because of our organizing, Jumaane Williams and Anna Maria Archia are going to be going head to head against New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who's under fire for backroom budget deals, and her sidekick, Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin, who's under investigation for campaign finance violation. Our revolution and our state affiliate, the New York Progressive Action Network, teamed up with the Working Families Party to hit the pavement with petitions. And on Thursday, we delivered 40,000 signatures to the state Capitol. That means Jumaane and Anna Maria are going to be representing progressives on the ballot. You know what? It is time to shift power away from the establishment and put it in the hands of we, the people. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about with our guest tonight. Before I bring up our first guest, I want to invite everyone listening to become a movement builder. We've kicked off our 2022 membership drive, and I want to tell you a little bit about how you can invest in our movement. For $5 a month, you get to vote on our upcoming 2022 candidate endorsements, and you'll get an official membership card in the mail. At the $10 a month level, you'll also get a collectible sticker 6-pack. And $15 a month will get you all three and a poster. At $27 a month, you're going to also get a tote bag. And at $50 a month, you'll get all of the above and a cool t-shirt that Christy and I are sporting. Look, as committed movement builders, we know the real reward is change. But we want to make sure that we share gifts with you to express our gratitude. We're dropping the link in the chat. If you have not yet signed up to become a member, please do so. And for all of you who are committed movement builders, thank you for your support. So now let's bring up our first guest. But before I do that, we've got roughly 3,000 people on the phones. And for all of you who are on the phone lines, if you want to have a more interactive experience and join us in the Zoom room and talk directly with our guests, you can do so. Just go to www.rrev.us/Zoom and you can transfer into the Zoom room and be a part of our virtual community. And with that, I am excited to welcome United States Representative Andy Levin to our call. Andy is running for re-election against a conservative, quote-unquote, new Democrat in Michigan's new 11th district. And I am proud to announce that our Revolution members in Michigan have voted to give Andy, our Revolution's national endorsement. This race is critical for all progressives. Why? Because the Democratic establishment supports Andy's opponent. This is going to be a contentious race. He's headed into a showdown with Haley Stevens. Haley Stevens is not part of our progressive voting bloc. She's not on board with Medicare for all or for fighting fossil fuels. This is a critical election, and we need to make sure that Andy Levin stays in the United States House representing the progressive movement. Andy's been there since 2018, and he serves as the deputy whip of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Andy, welcome to our call tonight, brother.
Thanks so much, Joseph. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm overwhelmed to get the endorsement of our revolution. It's awesome. So excited.
So, Andy, let's just start off a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background. We first met, maybe 20 years ago when you were a union organizer. And I think you may be the only union organizer in the United States Congress. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how that informs your worldview when you serve in Congress.
Joseph, it's the best job I ever had. I started out helping workers form unions in nursing homes with SEIU. I did that for 5 years. And then for 11 years, I was the assistant director of organizing of the National AFL-CIO, helping workers form unions and win strikes and bargain with all different unions. And what it drives me to do in Congress is, my job in Congress is to build a multiracial coalition of working class people to take power in this country and transform it so it actually serves us. So everybody has health care. So we transform our economy immediately to all renewable energy. And the jobs we create are great union jobs with good benefits, good wages, good retirement, education for all our kids. Yes, free college. Yes, eliminate student debt. I mean, I didn't come to Congress to muck around. Joseph, I'm a 2-time cancer survivor, man. So I'm very well aware that we're here on this earth for one precious moment. We've got to make the change that we can while we're here. And so I'm kind of an inside-outside organizer in the Congress, I guess you could say.
Well, inside, outside organizing, Andy, is what our revolution is about, right? We are organizing the people on the streets to support people like you who are in power. But I want to come back to the union organizing piece and just to get your take on all the amazing organizing that's happening. Starbucks workers are organizing. You're wearing a Starbucks Worker United shirt, which is awesome. Amazon workers are organizing. It seems like there's a new day for our moment.
Absolutely. So yeah, I got this. I was given this t-shirt at a Starbucks store in Clinton Township, Michigan, where the workers are on the move. 14 of 16 workers there sign union cards, brother. I mean, it's just, so I think, we are seeing a moment of workers organizing like I've never seen in my adult life, starting perhaps with teachers, not really led by their unions exactly, right? From in red states, from West Virginia to Arizona, and AFT and NEA kind of, did their best to catch up with the workers. And we're seeing this across private sector, public sector. I'm fighting to help federal workers get their rights. I'm fighting to help nonprofit workers. And you know what it's like, Joseph? A so-called liberal organization like the Public Interest Network, which is like the Purge, right? 70% of their workers in DC signed cards with OPEIU Local 2, and they were like, oh, well, we'll make you have an election. We'll call a union buster. So I said no. And I got 45 members of the House to sign a letter to them saying, recognize the union now. And they did, and I feel like my job is, yes, to introduce legislation. So I'm a huge proponent of the PRO Act and of our public sector collective bargaining legislation and so forth. But it's also, frankly, to agitate, to help workers organize. And let me say one other thing about the two big Amazon, situations we're aware of. The workers in Bessemer, Alabama, and the workers on Staten Island. And I think this shows what we could do with labor law reform. First of all, we're only going to get it if workers demand it. That's what happened in 1935 when we passed the National Labor Relations Act. It wasn't a bunch of genteel Congress people and senators having a lovely conversation in the Capitol. Workers were having sit-down strikes. They were, shutting places down. And so it was really kind of a compromise. And right now, we've seen labor law reform filibustered to death under Carter and Obama and now Biden, and Clinton didn't even try. So what are we going to do to break this? It's going to have to be a movement of workers. And then, why do I bring up Staten Island and Bessemer? I went down to Bessemer. The president of the union said, "You have to come, Andy." I said, "Come on, who do the workers really want to see?" So he asked them, and he said, Nikema Williams, Jamal Bowman, and Corey Bush. I said, "Okay." I brought all three of them with me. We all went down there. But so they lost, right? And now they just finished another second round, and they might win, but it's close. They might lose. But how did it happen that a bottom-up group of workers in Staten Island succeeded, winning like 55% to 45% without being part of a national union? And this is what I want to say. When we finally pass labor law reform in this country, it's not just going to help like the big unions get bigger. Yeah, that's fine, and it will, but it'll unleash workers to form unions however the hell they want to, and it's going to create new forms of organizing. And I'm incredibly excited about this moment. I feel like one of the main reasons I've got to win this primary and come back to Congress is we have to help the workers form unions in these companies without going through the hell they have to go through, getting fired, captive audience meetings every day, getting demoted, being threatened. I mean, this is America. It's supposed to be a fundamental right, last I saw, to have the freedom of association. It's in the Constitution, that little First Amendment we've got. So I think we've got to stand up for worker power in this country, and the workers are leading the way, from Amazon to digital media to Starbucks to your local local government institution where workers are organized. So I'm really excited about it.
And Andy, let me just underscore for our members who are listening, why is a strong union movement important? It is, just like you said, it's not just important for union members, it's important for everyone in our society, because when we think about the most transformative moments in our country's history, when we think about the passage of the New Deal or major social legislation, the Civil Rights Act, it happened when people were organized into institutions that had power to check big corporations. So brothers and sisters, if we want to usher in the revolution that Bernie's talked about, that we've been fighting for since 2016 and beyond, it's imperative that we stand with workers organizing. And that's why it's important to have Andy Levin's voice in Congress. So Andy, tell us a little bit about this race. So you are in this situation where you're actually going up against another sitting member of Congress, a Democrat. So why should people care? Why should our members care about which Democrat wins in this race?
It's such a good question, Joseph. And I just put in the chat for everyone a video that I think it's called More Perfect Union, created about the workers in our own staff in the Capitol who want to organize, and I'm leading the effort legislatively there. So, in this case, we're two Democrats running, and we couldn't be more different. I'm an original co-sponsor of the Green New Deal, and I'm one of 27 members of the House and the Senate who are co-sponsors of all 10 Green New Deal bills, and I'm the author of one of them with Elizabeth Warren. My opponent opposes the Green New Deal and doesn't sponsor any of that legislation. I'm an original co-sponsor of Medicare for All. I was on that lawn when we introduced it. I'll be on the lawn again when we introduce it when we get back to DC. My opponent opposes it. I'm for negotiating the price of prescription drugs completely. My opponent says, don't do that too much. That'll kill, innovation. I am I'm saying to Joe Biden, let's eliminate $50,000 of student loan debt right now. 2/3 of student loan debt is held by women, and it's a total racial justice issue too. After the term of a student loan is up, on average, white people still owe 5%, African-American people owe 95%. I mean, come on, this is outrageous. My opponent is not for eliminating student loan debt. And, I could go on and on. It's really a question of whether we're going to have bold progressives who stand up and do what's right, and regardless of whatever the politics of the moment or whatever leadership says, and does what's right. Look, Joseph, leadership wants me to vote for the National Defense Authorization Act. I vote against it every year. Don't tell me we should be spending $750 or $800 billion a year on the military. That's what that's about, when we're not meeting human needs. I'm the author of the free community college bill. That would cost $25 billion. We could have universal pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds. We could have child care with no family paying more than 7% of their income. We could do so many things by just cutting the military budget by, a third or a quarter. So there's a huge difference in this race. And it really, I'll tell you what, brothers and sisters, what is the next Congress going to be? That's the question we all face. Are we going to fight like hell for real change for the people from the bottom up? Or are we going to, let the corporate leaders who, put a lot of money in decide what the agenda is? And I say, hell no, we're going to fight for the working class. And that's what's at stake, I say, in this election.
Andy Levin, brothers and sisters, he is running for Congress to represent not just his district in Michigan, but the entire progressive movement. And as Andy said, here's what's at stake. What kind of Congress do we want? And I'll say this, here at Our Revolution, we want a progressive Congress. We want less centrist. We want less New Democrats. We want more bold blue Bernie progressives. And that is Andy Levin. Brother, thank you so much for taking time out to join our members on this call tonight. We're going to be hitting the phones and working the heck out of our membership rolls in your district to make sure you win and win big.
Thanks so much, Joseph. It's such an honor to be in this fight with you. We're going to win, and we're going to win big in November too. One step at a time. Let's go.
Andy Levin, candidate for Congress. So for all of you who are in Michigan, in particular, if you want to sign up to help re-elect Andy to Congress, click on the link in the chat. For folks who are outside of Michigan, we're going to be hitting the phones non-stop as part of our phone bank force. And you can click on that link also in the chat. So next up, I want to bring up a good friend and another organizer that I've known for many, many years, David Segal. But first, I want to invite the 3,000 people that we have on the phone lines. If you want to have an interactive experience, if you want to talk to David Segal and the other guests directly, transfer over to the Zoom room. Just type in www.rrev.us/Zoom. Zoom room is where the action is. So tonight, Our Revolution is proud to announce that our members have also voted to endorse David Segal and to send him to Congress. David is exploring a run to serve in Rhode Island's 2nd Congressional District. But I want to give you a little bit of background about David. Just like Andy, David is a longtime member of our movement. He served as a progressive state representative for a long time, and he served on the Providence City Council. And since 2010, David has been leading a national advocacy organization called Demand Progress, one of our closest allies here in Washington as we fight corporate power. We've worked with David and Demand Progress to oppose war, to fight monopoly corporate power, and to advance democratic reforms. For our members, I want you to know David has dedicated his career to advancing and building the progressive movement, and we are excited to have him on our call tonight. David, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about why you are thinking about tossing your hat into this race. Why is this race important?
Let me say, first off, thanks so much for having me. I mean, it's great to be working with an organization that I've worked with in a variety of capacities over the years, and where I've had so many friends as staff, as board members, as rank and file members here and across the country. What's at stake in my race here in Rhode Island 2nd is whether we're going to elect somebody with years of experience building broad coalitions in and out of government to push a progressive agenda that helps everyday people. And I think that all of us who are here tonight know that government should be able to do more for us. And in my 8 years on the city council here in Providence and as a state representative, and then as you spoke to during the years since, I've seen that organizing broad coalitions can drive change and force government to do more. In the decade since I left office, I've continued to fight for policies that improve the lives of everyday people. I co-founded a progressive advocacy group with national and sometimes even international reach. We've mobilized millions of people and hundreds of organizations. We've made progress on issues that really matter, like economic justice, reining in corporate power, protecting the environment, health and healthcare, protecting civil rights and civil liberties. And I think we need policymakers who've shown that they can build these broad coalitions and get the job done. I think people need to be able to trust that when those in government say they care, they're actually going to do something about it. And we need leaders who understand that a low-wage worker in one of our smaller towns, or a young person just starting out in the city, or a small business owner, you have a lot in common, and who will say, we need all of you and so many others, because we can genuinely come together and work to change the system and win elections. That's how I've always worked. It's been true in office and out of office. And it's what I do alongside you guys and so many others if I'm fortunate enough to get to serve.
And so building coalitions, working the inside-outside game is something that's pretty significant. And what we know is this: when you get to Congress, you're going to be a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. And that, in my mind, is one of the most important reasons for you to throw your hat in the race. We need to strengthen the CPC and make sure that we have the votes alongside Andy Levin and others to get real change to happen. So that being said, tell me a little bit about your take on the CPC and on the outside organizing that our movement has been doing, and how do we take it further in this next moment?
Well, let me start by saying that during my time in Rhode Island in the Assembly, I got to, let's say, co-organize our Progressive Caucus. We were able to tighten it up, formalize it in a way that it hadn't previously existed. And back then it was a pretty small crew. I mean, this was like a decade ago or so, I guess more than that, going back 15 years even, crazy. Yeah. And we were able to do exactly what I was speaking to. We were able to figure out ways to wield our power. Sometimes that meant using blocking power. We were able to help block for a period of time a really awful austerity budget during the 08-09 crash that was going to steal money from cities and towns. We didn't win everything we wanted in that, but we were able to block it until we saw a number of the cuts restored. We got a pledge to raise taxes on the wealthy, to push the capital gains tax back up, which was being phased out here at the time. And relative to any particular issue, you need to be aware of what strength you have, how to wield it, what opportunities present themselves. Sometimes that might mean wielding blocking power. Other times it might mean being part of a strange bedfellows coalition where you work with moderates, or sometimes even work with certain people in the Republican Party around pushing back against big tech, or pushing back against war, which I've been able to work on relative to, for instance, the ongoing catastrophe in Yemen that we're unfortunately helping to support. And so you need somebody who has a broad array of experience, understands different situations, understands how to mobilize people on the outside, bring people together on the inside, and work with everybody together to identify those moments and make use of the tools that you have when they make themselves known.
And the most important thing is to organize and leverage power, whether it's to block things. We've got to use what we have to deliver on our members' self-interest. So, David, let me ask you this. What are some of the top priorities, issue priorities, that you want to see addressed on the Hill?
So I think what is right in a particular moment changes depending on what people's needs are and a variety of other circumstances. My focus is bread and butter economic issues, so expansive macroeconomic policy that helps everyday people, Medicare for all, pushing towards a jobs guarantee, a renewable energy transition. I got to in Rhode Island work on a lot of the foundational renewable energy measures that helped 20 years ago, when people could actually argue legitimately that in the moment perhaps renewables were more expensive than fossil fuels. That argument's no longer on the table. We were able to push forward measures to ensure that Providence, the city itself, started using renewable energy, to put measures in place to make it easier for people to put up wind turbines, solar panels, and so on. So those sorts of issues, I think we need a progressive response to inflation that is impacting people. It's very important that we had the stimulus that we had, and I think we need to do more to push further towards full employment, because we're not all the way there yet. But there are also some measures that we should be taking to support the people who are suffering from inflation, of course. And I imagine that will still, unfortunately, this set of issues will not be resolved by January of next year. Obviously, we've got to continue to monitor what's happening with the pandemic, but there's so many different issues that I've had the opportunity to work on over the years. And as different issues become salient because of what's happening in the world, I think I'm very well positioned to identify how to move the ball forward on them.
So David Segal, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're honored to endorse you in your race for Congress, should you decide finally to throw the hat in. And that being said, to our community, I just want to emphasize what we have to do to realize the world we want is we've got to send organizers to Congress. We can't send politicians, because if we continue to send politicians, we're going to continue to get the same old. We've got to make sure that we get Andy Levin back in Congress. We got to send people like David Segal to serve our movement on the Hill. We need to grow the Congressional Progressive Caucus and the progressive voting bloc. That is our mission. That is our theory of change at the federal level. And for all of our members listening, if you are in Rhode Island, if you live close to Rhode Island and you want to volunteer in person, sign up using the link in the chat. And for those of you around the country, you can join our phone bank force. We're going to be banging out calls to make sure Rhode Islanders get to the polls and elect true progressives. Again, thanks, David, and Christy, over to you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joseph, and thank you, David Segal. This is great to hear from organizers and activists, and we hope that both David and Levin get to be representatives again for us in the movement. I get the privilege of introducing you guys to another wonderful local candidate running for re-election in Indiana. Our revolution is proud to endorse Annette Johnson in her run for re-election as Pike Township trustee. Annette beat the establishment 4 years ago and took out a 16-year incumbent in the Democratic primary back in 2018. Pike Township is a community of nearly 90,000 people on the northwest side of Indianapolis. About half of the community is African American, and it is a Democratic stronghold. The best part of this story is that Annette's team told the establishment that they were going to win, and then went out and won by 300 votes. This might not seem like a big race, but Annette oversees a $30 million budget, so it matters if we have a progressive there. Annette raised the minimum wage for Pike Township employees to $15 an hour and fought hard to save local control over the fire department. She has nearly doubled the number of African American firefighters in the department and appointed the first black fire chief. Despite her record of good government and leadership, establishment Democrats, those pesky establishment Democrats, rigged the county Democratic Party endorsement against her. Annette can win, and we have to wage the fight. She's a great example of how we can shore up progressive power at every level of government. If you have questions for Annette and you're in the Zoom, please put them in the Q&A. If you're on the phones, you can press *3 to ask a question. Annette, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. I've been busy all day and all evening.
We appreciate you making the time to be here, Annette. Can you tell us a little bit about your race? I know Election Day is May 3rd, so everybody, write that on your arm, on your calendar, on your fridges, on your stoves, wherever it'll help you remind you. But it sounds like the county party there in Indianapolis is playing a little dirty, despite the fact that you got a ton of community support, and as I listed, have done a ton of amazing work. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm a little disappointed in the party that I support 100%. And it makes me wonder, what is going on with our party leaders here in our city of Indianapolis when they can just ruthlessly do these types of things to individuals that are fighting on the front line every day, progressively bringing changes to community, which is what it should be about. So it does make me, very just wondering what is really going on.
Yeah, it's a little disheartening, Annette, right? When we're out here as progressives trying to change the world, I mean, something as simple as fighting for a living wage for families in your community, that should matter to every, not just progressive, but every Democrat. It's important that we hold progressives, on to the line on these local races. And what you're up against in your race, what are you up against in your race for re-election? What do you feel like you need to focus on most in this cycle?
Well, the way I look at it, I am the incumbent Democrat. And so I'm running up against a individual that has been endorsed by the party. And so that's what I'm running against. It's like David and Goliath. I'm back where I was 4 years ago to the exact date. And we did it then and we will do it again. What we're doing is we're making sure that we're out in the community, we're connecting with voters, we're doing the grassroots that a lot of campaigns don't do. We're out talking to individuals and walking and, trying to be at every event. Just before I came on to this particular call, I did participate in an HOA, which is a homeowners association meeting. So, just being able to be in front of individuals that live in Pike Township, hear their concerns, but also work alongside them is what we're doing in my campaign.
Yeah, Annette, as you heard us say, there are thousands of people on the line, bold progressives fighting in their own communities, and your voice can be empowering, uplifting, a motivator. In tough races like yours, you say you're going to HOAs and, really getting in the community, working with community members. And we know you've already beat the establishment once, right?
Yes.
But as our revolution, we want to know, how can our members support you this time in this cycle?
Well, with any campaign, you need money to get your message out on radio ads is what I'm trying to do within the next 3 weeks, because the election is 3 weeks away with May the 3rd. And so money for ads so that I can be on the radio, ads in the local newspapers, and that will really help me a lot. And then even, if I could get one last mailer out to individuals in Pike Townships just to share what we have been doing for the community, that would help as well.
Yeah, we see you have your billboards up and your signs going out. And they all feature, your line about fighting for the Pike Township Fire Department. I know you've done a lot of good work, and firefighting is a critical public good that we all, can support and pitch in to help one another. Tell us some more. I know, we definitely want to support you as much as possible. Tell us about the fight to save your local fire department and how that relates to your race.
Well, as a township trustee, it's almost like being a mini mayor. And so you have different components of services that your township can provide for the residents. And so the fire department is one of the entities that we still have that I'm able to keep a hold of. And what's so disappointing is that my previous person that was in the office before me for 16 years supported that fire department. But as soon as we won, they wanted to give it away abruptly. And so we fought hard, got messages out to the community, the residents and the HOAs, which I'm, just a very big component of homeowners in the township. And we were able to save it. So again, we're at that point again. What's exciting is that this particular office that I'm holding, we have a very large budget, and we know individuals want to take that, and then they're going to use those revenues for who knows what. But I'm really big on government that's closest to the community, so that the community can have something. They're stakeholders, and they should have a say so on what they have in their communities. So that's one piece. The last 3 years, because it's a 4-year term, so I'm on my 4th year, I worked hard to make sure every year I've had a recruit class. So I've had a recruit fire class 2019, 2020, 2021, and I'm starting a hiring process for 2022. And I'm hoping that you build your fire department so that it looks like a very rich and diverse fire department.
Annette, I want to thank you so much for joining us and being that powerful voice of why it's so important to help progressives win locally. You had my heart at Fight for 15, y'all. Visit Annette's website. Check us out on ourrevolution.com. Make sure if you're in her area, know that we will be helping Annette in the coming cycle. She needs as much help as we can get her on the ground. Not just to volunteer, phone bank, block walk, all of those basic, forms of community action that we can take as progressives. Thanks so much, Annette. And we'll see you on the winning side, right?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And, as far as local progressives, we have another amazing progressive. I'm so excited to get to talk to our next amazing organizer, progressive, activist, leader, labor union organizer, Justine Medina. Justine has been deeply involved in left politics and the labor struggle for a number of years, and now she's helped pull off one of the most inspiring David versus Goliath moments possibly in our lifetime, a win for working power in maybe a century. We can't wait to dig into the mechanics of this amazing grassroots organizing victory and a continued fight against Amazon and its union busting tactics. If you have questions for Justine and you're in the Zoom, put them in the Q&A. If you're on the phones, you can press *3. I want to welcome Justine. Congratulations on the union election at JFK 8. Now you've got another vote coming up April 25th to hopefully unionize a second warehouse, LDJ 5, also in Staten Island. Tell us about some of the deep organizing work you all have done there and about how you're building momentum from JFK 8 and what the fight looks like from the inside.
First of all, thank you all so much for having me on. It feels great to be on a call with amazing progressive activists across the country. So thank you for that. So yeah, we have moved on basically immediately to our campaign to win the next vote on Staten Island. You're exactly right, Christy. We have the LDJ5 election coming up in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now. Actually, it's beginning on the 25th. And I mean, the main deep organizing we're doing is we're just there every day talking to people. I was at the LDJ5 warehouse, even though I don't work there, so I can't go inside. Those of us on the JFK8 team who didn't have to work today, we have been out in front of LDJ5 tabling and flying to talk with workers as they're going inside and outside of the warehouse. So I was there by 6 a.m. and I'm going to be there by 6 a.m. tomorrow and spend most of the day there. So a lot of it is just these conversations, you know, catching people as they're coming and going and encouraging them to talk to their coworkers and continuing to build our committee. You know, as we were going down to the wire at the JFK election, as we were getting closer and closer to starting it, we were still bringing new workers onto our organizing committee. And in the ALU, we're really, really committed to having the union fight led by the rank and file. So we're always trying to recruit onto our organizing committee and letting everyone know you can be an organizer, right? It's just showing up and doing the work. It's just, you know, it's just a lot of work, right? It's just having a lot of conversations, and, you know, I'm sure everyone here can relate, you know, getting very little sleep while you're having those conversations, just trying to connect with people. So yeah, and also this week we're launching our phone banking efforts where JFK workers are reaching out to LDJ5 workers to talk to them about why we unionized, why we think they should join our union family officially. So yeah, it's exciting.
You know, Justine, you're inspiring not only to me, but thousands of people, not just you, but your coworkers, everything that you guys are doing. You know, there's a famous quote by one of our board members: when we all do better, we all do better. And when workers unite and when workers win, it's a win for the people. So, you know, it's just, you know, gives me chills. So thank you. I know it's hard work, right? You're out there in action every day. More than 50 other Amazon locations in total. Some in other countries have reached out to you. What are some of the lessons or specific tactics that could be transformed or scaled up or applied by other workers?
Yeah, so, and actually at this point we've heard from more than 100 warehouses at this point. People are reaching out faster than we're able to reach back, really, especially because we also have we're worker organizers, so we also have our jobs, you know, that we're volunteering on top of, so we're stretched thin. But the main thing we tell people is, first, you know, it's like if you're interested in organizing a workplace, find other coworkers who are interested in forming a workplace. You know, you have to form your initial worker committee, your initial organizing committee, the 4 or 5 other people that are going to be solid and be ready to be there and build for, you know, I mean, this effort can take a year, right? Especially if you're in a bigger warehouse, it can take time to campaign and to talk to all the workers and to build up your little local union family and union organizing drive. So that's the first step. You know, you just want to be talking to workers. That's key everywhere. You want to be trying to, as you go along, recruit workers from every single shift and also every single demographic. So there are, you know, it's like we in ALU really pride ourselves on our diversity. Everyone, of course, knows our fantastic Black and Brown leadership. You know, Chris Smalls, Derek Palmer, they're amazing leaders. But we recruit from all genders, all races, and even all, you know, ideologically. I mean, we have some amazing organizers who aren't progressive, right? But they care about the workers. And we come together as a united front because we're fighting for workers. So just reaching out to every single person as you build. And then just really studying the conditions of your own workplace and really get to know who are those people, because those general lessons will be applied in different ways in every location. And you can't get caught up in trying to mechanically apply the playbook, because it'll change wherever you're at.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, that's sound advice for people on, you know, listening now on the broadcast. We know that the ALU is facing a ton of backlash. You know, this fight didn't start yesterday. We're so proud in the direction it's moving to. But we know there's these union busting tactics, right? and some of you even got arrested serving food. We know a little bit about that in the South. If you try to give voters, snacks, it can be an issue. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you're turning Amazon's power back on itself so their tactics backfire?
Absolutely. So in JFK 8, we started by disrupting the group anti-union meetings, the collective meetings that they make all of the workers go to, the captive audience meetings. That's one term for them. And we would just have workers that were in those ask questions, like instead of just passively listening. And we would make our own flyers, our own pro-union campaign material, sort of in response to their anti-union messaging. So they would say, ask how, right? Ask how the union is going to do all these things. And we'd be like, yes, ask us how. And ask Amazon why they are pushing back against us so hard. So just sort of following and being able to respond that way. And then we also, every time that Amazon breaks the law, in union busting, we file ULPs, we file charges with NLRB that they're violating the law, and then we sort of publicize that and get the word out around the warehouse. So right now, a lot of our lead worker organizers in LDJ5 are being harassed by anti-union workers, and HR is covering for them, which is against Amazon's policies. It's illegal. They're letting some harassment continue. So we are publicly making that known, and a lot of workers who are on the fence are really swayed by that kind of thing because they don't think it's fair, even when they're not sure what to make of the union, to see that kind of agreement.
Yeah, there's a lot of great questions coming in the chat, Justine, but I'll try to summarize them and kind of squish them together. I know we have you just for a couple more minutes. One of them is, were you able to talk union talk while you were on the job, or did you have to wait strictly till you were outside the hours of work?
So strictly speaking, you are legally protected to talk union talk at your workplace in non-work areas on non-work times. So that's why we really what we really focused on when we were inside is talking to people in the break rooms, and also talking to people either when we were on our own breaks, or also we would come in off shift. So we would come in on our days off, we would come in early, we would stay late, so that way we would still be able to be on the premises because we worked there, so we could badge in, but we were definitely fully protected by labor law. Now, you can also be a little riskier and snatch conversations here or there while on the clock, but that is you sort of putting yourself a little bit more at risk because it's a little bit more of a gray area in terms of protected labor law. Yeah.
No, that's a great question, Justine. We know you have this fight coming up, and we want you to bring home another win, LDJ5, in just 2 weeks. And please let the whole crew know, all of the Amazon workers, everyone out there in the struggle for labor rights, just people, right? Human rights, that we're with them, we're for you guys, and we wish you all the best in all of your organizing efforts, and we hope to see you on the winning side after you guys take another win.
Thank you so much. It's been great being here.
Good to see you, Justine. Thank you for joining us. Joseph, I know we're just out of time. I want to go ahead and close this out.
So thank you, Justine, and congratulations to all the Amazon labor union workers on such transformative win for the labor movement, for the progressive movement more generally. As we close out, I want to invite all of you to get involved with our revolution. We have a lot of work to do to re-elect Annette Johnson, to make sure that David Segal and Andy Levin are representing our movement on Capitol Hill. And here's how you can do that. You can join our phone bank force. We are getting out the vote. We're calling every single voter on our list. We've got 8 million progressives identified. And if we get them to the polls, we're going to win with no competition. And that's why we need your support. Join us. We're calling every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And you know what? Christy Lara is going to be working with you because she is our phone bank force captain. The other thing that you can look forward to is we're going to do a special town hall briefing on defending democracy. It's going to be on April 19th. And we're going to have our lawyers from Free Speech for the People, as well as plaintiffs, our revolution members who are standing up to the insurrectionists, join us. And we're going to have a special organizing meeting. That link is going to be in the chat. It's going to be next Tuesday, April 19th. And the final thing, brothers and sisters, if you are able, I encourage you not just to volunteer, not just to come to our insurrectionist town hall, but also to support our movement however possible with a small donation, whether it's $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month. It is your small donation, small gifts that power our movement forward. And with that, Christy, let's unmute our phones and end with our chant. When we organize,
We win.
when we organize,
We win.
when we organize,
We win.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.